Hello everyone and welcome back to Millicraft and welcome back to the Gray Box. In today's episode we're going to be doing a follow-up to last time's Pathway episode. But today we are going to be stepping outside of the Gray Box to do it in a real-life setting. So let's get started. In our last episode about pathways, we went over some of the different kinds of color palettes, but I had a lot of people who expressed interest in learning how to actually do it in their own world and using terrain and trying to figure out how to make those transitions work in real world settings, just like this one. So I decided I'd pick a couple of real life villages and some palettes that I did not do that are kind of standard-ish palettes, but also a really weird one. One that matches my skin specifically. I decided we're going to try something kind of a little wonky, and if you notice, these actually both kind of match my skin this season. And if you noticed, I've kept my Adventure Guild outfit on for these few outfits for the tutorials, so if you're interested in that, go and watch the other things on my channel. But today, we're just going to do 3 different path palettes, a few things that you can do about just doing it on real life terrain. And I'm going to show you how to kind of fill out areas like this. Also, how to use these different materials. And we're going to start with the Deep Slate set. So the Deep Slate set, we have the cobble Deep Slate, the regular Deep Slate, the bricks, and then to mix it up a little bit, concrete powder. And then we're going to also look at how we can incorporate different textures into that. So we're going to have these Deep Slate bricks and the slabs. And it's very important that one of your palette types have stairs and or slabs. And the reason I say that is especially if you're going to have it on varying terrain. So if we have terrain like this, where it kind of steps its way down, you're going to want to have the option to be able to stair step it in some capacity with one of these stones. Because if you notice, if I do it with this, the concrete powder, the only levels I can do concrete powder on are these 2. So it's very important to have at least a couple different types in your palette when you're building that will have these differing kinds of stones in order to make this work. So let's take a look at this path. So this is a generated path that was already created, and you can see where the grass is, the cursed grass on the path blocks that shouldn't exist, because this was generated by the world, and he really likes to take a look at his stone fireplace there. But a couple things to keep in mind when you're doing one of these pathways. So we have a couple of options. Is obviously you can just start setting down some items. You can kind of put your different kinds of cobbles and deep slates and all the different kinds of stone types that you have. The more worn an area might be, or patched an area might be, you might have a smoother kind of texture. We can also flip these Deep Slate stones upright as opposed to flat like this. The more less traveled stones could be more of these brick types as you kind of build along. If you want to just start adding some additional texture into the road, you can add some of these stairs. You could add some of these slabs in here if you want it to make it look like it's busted down a little bit. And again, you're going to want to have a smooth transition from each level. So you can do that in various ways. Like I said, you can put stairs in, and the steeper the transition, like we have over here, you're probably going to use any type of stair block that exists to be able to make this very steep transition. But if you want to make a transition that's a little less steep, you can use these half slabs. But then you're going to have to use like a full slab in here somewhere. So if you want these stones that you don't need that can be full blocks, then you could do it like that. So we can have a full set, a half slab set, and then we can come back and put more of these full slabs, the full blocks in place to be able to help balance that transition. But obviously, if I came down here and I wanted to put a half slab, I'm going to have a big gap here. So I would either have to bring this out further and have a full block here and then a half slab here to make that transition work, or you're going to need to use stairs. So obviously I'm starting to get like 2 blocks high when I do that. So if I were to continue that path where it's like full slab, half slab, full slab, and then half slab again. Oop, I don't have these anymore. Half slab, full slab, etc. Like, eventually I'm going to come out and I'm going to, like, build this path all the way down over here. But now that you have kind of a basic look to your road, you don't have to do multiple types of stone, like, to begin with. You could do it all with a brick to start with. And then you could start to texture it out what and where this road is being hooked up to. So say this road, just like we have over here, has a pen. So say there had been animals living in this pen, maybe there would be more like dirty kinds of stones and other things around here. So maybe we are going to have more wear, and we can put in these deep slate bricks and such to make it look like it's gotten a lot more worn down because animals have been coming in and out of this pen. Someone in the previous video actually suggested dirtying up this area even more. So if I go into our inventory and go, okay, let's see, gravel would be a great one. We could just make it look even more worn down by kind of adding this gravel in, because it looks like dirt has been kind of carried in and out of this pen a lot because of the animals that have been living there. Now, another fun thing that I really like to do, and I had a few people express interest in, how do you make a road that is non-spawnable? And there's a couple different ways you can do that. One thing to keep in mind, stairs are not spawnable blocks. Regardless of whether they're on the ground or not, they're not spawnable because spawns have to happen on a flat surface. So it has to be at the very top of the block all the way across for it to spawn. So if you came down and built a road like this that kind of looks like a bit of a trench, it would not be spawnable at all, which is really handy when you want to kind of have roads that are safe and also roads that cannot collect snow. So a down block like this, where it's sitting down below this little trench that we built with the brick the stairs in general, it will not collect snow and it will not collect mobs, which is really handy. But another thing you could also do would be to come up and build the road up to, so that if we had a road that kind of came up, I'm just going to show you here, if you had stones that are up above, this would also be a non-spawnable and non-snow platform here because it's sitting up above on a block where it's the halfway point as well. We could come in here, and if you wanted to have very, very deep curbs, and maybe we could even put grates or something like that, so it looks like the water collects down in these curbs and then goes down into a grate system. That would be a really cool pathway design as well. And safe from spawns. All right, now that we have a very varying kind of road system going down in through here, down into our village, let's take a look if you didn't already have a pathway plotted out. So we don't have a pathway leading over to our gray box yet. I recommend a couple different things. Now, I've seen pathways done like this, where you kind of just set blocks out to say, okay, I kind of want a pathway that's going to lead straight over here to the gray box. And maybe it's going to weave in and out of the terrain. You could also do this with pathing blocks to start with, but not too many. And then we can break those things, and then we can go, okay, now we're going to make sure that this leads up to this road, and then it would kind of curve around and lead over there. So a couple things that you could do, like I said, you can put stones down, you could put dirt down, you could do these path blocks, a lot of different things that you can do to plan. And what I tend to do is once I have a basic idea, you either go and do a whole bunch of pathing, or I'm going to just kind of lay out stones where I think I'm going to need them. So right now I'm going to be using this black stone path. And this is going to come over. So we're going to have this even to there, and then it's going to weave over this direction because ultimately we want it to go over that direction. So we kind of curve it this way. And then depending on how thick you want it, it can go from like 3 to 4 blocks wide. And I think I'm gonna even it out over here so it's a little deeper. Just like that. And I like this 3 wide section. Here. Take this out. I'm gonna go over that way. And then we're gonna end it right smack dab in the middle of this path. Alright, so we have a very plain, very pigified road. I think it's pig and sheep approved. They're already using it. Now let's say we want to break things up a little bit by adding some other stones. If you have a very specific terrain where, like, say I know that I walk in and out of the gray box a lot, I would probably mix up a lot more texture into the areas where I know I'm going to be going in and out of a lot. And I'm going to add some of these stairs. Like, I've had so much wear and tear on this area that it is super starting to break down because I've been in and out of this gray box so much over the last year. In real life and in the game. Not this particular gray box though, because if you notice, this gray box is a little tiny box. And then if you want to say, as you get away from that box and the road itself has been used less, then you're going to have a little bit less texture in the areas where it's used less, or less frequently rather. If you have a section like this, this is where you're going to either put stones or you're going to put slabs to kind of vary it a little bit. And if you want to make stuff fancy, you can kind of come in and put the stairs on the side like that so that we could have a nice transition there. If you want to have like curb stair where it kind of really directs you into the middle versus having a way to walk up the edge very easily, you can do that too. I actually like this kind of look when you're building it up on some terrain, because then you can even build it like that. So it's it kind of shoehorns you into going into this area. But then we want to add just a wee bit more texture and maybe a little bit of other color. This black concrete powder has a little less, it has a little bit of the purple. As you can kind of see, it's a little bit of purpley black, but it's a little less purpley. But if, say, we really wanted to put a lot of texture into this area has really gotten busted down through here versus that area, which is not as busted down. And then maybe we add just a little bit of coal or some other kind of stone in here that just gives it a little bit more of a color difference. And maybe the reason that this coal exists is because I have a big pile of coal here from a mine, and I've been using, let's see, some blast furnaces in this area. So I want to make sure that I show how dingy and dirty this area has been, and I keep tracking coal in and out of this area, and that's why it's starting to spread out into the pathway itself. So don't be afraid to tell a story as you make a path past specific buildings. So if it's a building that gets a lot of use because of animals, you can dirty it up. If it's a very nice, clean building where it's a city hall or something, maybe you have some fancy curbs and drainage and that kind of thing in this area, because these roads are a lot more maintained than the ones over by the coal mines and that sort of thing. Now that we have a few very basic ideas about how to do some roads, let's do something a little wonky and a little weird, and we're just going to kind of do it right in here along this smooth path. So maybe you have an area that is very special and has a very special build in it, and you want to build a path that matches it and gives it something a little different. So I'm going to take out this deep part right in through here. And I'm going to make it 4 wide because why not? Oh. That we want to have this magenta because this is going to be a magenta road. As I said, we're going to match my skin today because why not? This is Minecraft. You literally do not have to have a road that makes any sense in the real world. So keep that in mind when you're making paths. It doesn't have to make sense. It can be a rainbow road. It could be a magenta road like we're going to build. It could be a cyan road. It can be whatever color your imagination is. It could be, you know, an ice road. I've seen plenty of ice roads built before for various reasons. I'm going to take these darker crimson stairs. I'm going to kind of make ourselves a gully with them. Because why not? Alright, now that I got that, I'm going to make we're going to start out with a road that is spawn-proof, snow-proof, this might be a pathway that you do in the nether. It might be a pathway that you build in the end or something like that because you have access to these purple logs. Now, as we go with some of these, like if we want to rise up and lift this area up a little bit, we might start building it with some of these other types of full blocks, but these won't be spawnable. I mean, these will be spawnable at that point. But we can make it very, very interesting and different as you go, just by mixing up the block types, and you can be very, very purposeful with these kinds of blocks, I guess would be the best way to say it. So I don't want to put that. I'm going to make it very purposeful. We're going to only do these crimson logs on these edges, and then I'm going to put these purple blocks in here. We're going to use these like little 3x3s. Because why not? And some of this terracotta as well. So take a look at how these differing roads, look how interesting, visually appealing this particular road is. And you know what? We're gonna go one step weirder here and go into our colorful blocks and use the dreaded magenta glazed terracotta. And this would be very hilarious if you had a specific road that you wanted people to always go one way on, and you actually made yourself a terracotta road. Or maybe you have one that you want people to go this direction on this side of the road and this direction on this side of the road, it would actually be really hilarious. And what I love about these magenta blocks is they're always going to face away from you. So if you want an arrow pointing that way, you're going to face that way. If you want an arrow facing that way, you're going to face that way, etc. And yes, they are the ugliest block in the game, but look how that looks with this. It's kind of wild and it's kind of weird. And as I said, there's no wrong way to path. Quite honestly, you can path in any sort of deep slate and blackstone and colors and whatever kinds of ways you want. There's no wrong way. Just keep in mind that if you want to do transitions and if you want to make things spawnable, you do have to be intentional with this kind of build. But if you don't care about that, I mean, look at the way villagers path. I mean, they have absolutely no rhyme or reason to their path blocking. By natural generation of Minecraft, it doesn't matter, and they walk wherever they want. Like, yeah, they're wherever. I think our guy still on the roof? He totally is. So yeah, no wrong way. The last thing I'm going to do is actually show a little bit of decorating around these paths, because I didn't really show it at all. I showed what it looked like all finished, but I didn't show what it looked like actually doing it in the last episode. So let me grab some blocks. And now that we have some blocks, let's do a couple of fun little lamp posts, because another thing to always keeping your roads non-spawnable is always think about how you are going to put some lampposts or lighting. And then we can also maybe put some signage around so that people know where they're going, and you can kind of put road signs around. If we put these signposts in at some of these ways, we can also put the lighting right above the road like that. Then I can put another of these just like this with a sign on it. You could have the lighting that's directly above the road, and you know it's going to be nice and safe from mobs. You can also protect yourself by doing some little bit of fencing along the roadsides. Just like that. Then we can take some leafies, like some leaf-like bushes along the sides of the road, and I always like to mix them up a little bit. We can take out some of these leaves and kind of put them around so they look like they're kind of growing up in and around these fence posts. I'm going to kind of put them down through here too to make them look like they're bushes. And kind of grow them around on the road itself. Like that. Just that little bit of hedge lining right around the road really makes a difference. We can even put some lamps down through here. If you put stones in around, you can do that instead. So say I have some big like stones that we've pushed out of the way to make this road. Kind of do that around, and maybe do a little bit of leaf action around there too. Little moss carpet down, and then you could hide lighting underneath it. And look at how different that path looks already, just with that little bit of time that I've spent doing that. So have fun with it. Maybe it's just going to be some items you already have laying around in your storage chests. Maybe it's something you have just a ton of because you've done a lot of mining early game and you just want to make some roads to connect things up. Maybe it's just path blocks in order to do things. And maybe you just put in a few lights here and there. check my lighting tutorial to find out how many lights you need in an area. And yeah, hope you have fun with this. Probably a shorter video than normal because we are just looking at a few different real life scenarios for pathing. I hope you enjoy. Love y'all very, very much. Give yourselves a hug for me. Thank you so much for 2,000 subs. As of the recording of this, I'm right around that point. I appreciate y'all for coming along, learning something new, and let me know what you like to do in the comments below. And if you like to join the Craftworks SMP Discord, we'd love to have you. There's places you can share your builds and ideas as well. Feel free to tag me if you have any path ideas that you've been working on. I love to see them, and I usually comment on them. But for now, that's going to be it, folks. Have a great week, and we will be back next time with... I don't know. I have a couple ideas for tutorials coming up. It's probably going to be maybe shelves. We'll see. Anyway, folks, have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone!